welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be talking about all the books I read in December. Happy New Year, by the way. Everybody wants to tell me how their New Year's went, if you did anything fun. My version of fun was laying on the couch reading the Cruel Prince while watching Criminal Minds, so that's one way to ring in the new year. I read a total of 10 books in December, which actually shocked me because I thought I read less than that, so yay me. Granted, one of them was like only 100 pages, and then I did read 2 arcs, so yes, I finished those. I'm proud of myself. But why don't we go ahead and dive into it. The first book that I finished in December was one that I had started in November and wound up finishing the first couple days in December, and that was Set on You by Amy Lee. I did talk about this book in my hopefuls for December. This book is about a curvy Instagram influencer who is she's like a fitness influencer. She really likes fitness. She goes to the gym. She'll record workout videos and just upload them with body positivity on her account. But one day, this new man walks into the gym and he steals some of her equipment, and a whole kind of enemies to lovers start. There's a whole bunch of tension in this book. It's really cute. I really did enjoy this book. It was a whole lot of fun. The bickering and banter between the two were just amazing, was just amazing. I had a bunch of fun reading it. I was staying up late every night to finish this book because I was just so invested. And this book was actually recommended to me by one of my friends, and I'm glad she recommended it to me because I loved it. I did wind up giving this book 5 stars. It was just a blast from start to finish, and yeah, it flew by. Apparently there's another book in this series. I think it focuses on her sister, who is a bookstagrammer, so you know I'm gonna be reading that soon. The next book I read was Kill Creek by Scott Thomas. This is another one that I started in November, finished in December. This book focuses on 4 horror authors, and they are all invited to come and stay at a haunted house. At first they all think that they're going to be interviewed by themselves. They didn't know about the other horror authors coming, but they all kind of desperately need the press, so they go. Not a whole lot happens while they're at the haunted house the first time, but after they leave, stuff begins to happen. Really, really creepy stuff. Like, they all see a little bit while they're there, but after they leave, it gets crazy. And so they wind up all having to go back to this house to try to defeat this evil spirit. And it's a really cool book because it's equal parts ghost story, it's a slasher, and so I really did enjoy this book. It was a little bit slow for me, which I'm fine. I like a good slow build, but I expected more to happen before it actually did start to happen, so I think that would be my only complaint. But otherwise, I really enjoyed this book. It was a bunch of horror fun. I really like how it started out with the history of the house, and then we get into like one of the first scenes in the book is like I guess you could say our main protagonist. Even though there's 4 of them, our main one, and he is teaching a class in college on like horror movies and horror books, and I was like, man, I would love to be in this class. Where was this when I was in college? So, but yeah, it was a bunch of fun. Wish it was just a little bit slimmed down and faster because I think it's about 400 pages, but I really can't complain. I had a blast with it. I don't know if I said I gave it 4 stars, and it's actually on Kindle Unlimited, so if you don't want to go out and buy it, if you have Kindle Unlimited, just download it there and see how you like it. So the next book I read was The Depths, and this was by Nicole L'Esperance. I hope I said that right. This book is about a girl who had a near-death experience. Like, she basically died, and they were able to resuscitate her. So she was, I forget what they called it. It's not like a deep-sea diver or anything. It's basically they go underwater and hold their breath for long periods of time. And she had some kind of accident while she was under and basically drowned. But they were able to revive her, and so now she has some physical and long-term injuries due to this near-death experience. So her mother actually just got remarried, and her mother was going to cancel her honeymoon, but the daughter, our main character, was like, no, don't do that. Don't do that on my account. So they wind up going, she becomes a third wheel on her mother's honeymoon to this gorgeous island. It's almost like it's too good to be true. It's basically them and then the caretakers and their kids who are there. And of course the kids are around her age. So some weird things start happening while she's there. She sees like a little ghost child, a ghostly teenage woman shows up in her bedroom at night, and the island seems to really like her, and the island basically wants to keep her, and so it sends out some things to try and entice her to stay. And yeah, it was an interesting story. I got confused a couple of times, and I don't know, it just didn't hold my attention the whole time. So I gave this book 3 stars. It's not a bad read. It was super quick, and I mean, the storyline itself was fun, but I just wasn't hooked on the plot. So I mean, it may just be a me thing, but I mean, it was a beautiful book. I mean, all the scenery described in the book, it's like you're going to Hawaii almost. Not that I've been there, but it's all the colors of the leaves and the flowers and stuff were it made just for a really vivid read. Next book actually was an audiobook. I did not listen to a lot this almost of this year, this month, but it was I'll Be Gone in the Dark, One Woman's Obsessive Search for the Golden State Killer by Michelle McNamara. I hope I said that right. And the sad thing is that she actually died before finishing this book, so she didn't get to see the actual man be caught. So she put in all this hard work for years and lost sleep over it and everything. And unfortunately, she didn't get to see the man get caught that she poured all her life's work into. But this book is kind of like a memoir mixed with true crime. We get to see some of her viewpoints, like how she was influenced to become like a crime writer and such by a tragic murder that went unsolved in her own neighborhood. And then we get to see, her life with... I didn't even know that her husband was, what's his name? Patton Oswalt. Like, he's the dude from Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. And I was like, whoa, that is so cool. But yeah, this book was a lot of fun. I did enjoy seeing how much work she put into it. And she really put everything into perspective. Like, the victims, the killer, the police work. She put all those things into, like, a perspective that made you feel for everybody. I mean, not for the killer. I mean, he can go die in a hole for all I care. But for the other two, like the police and the victims, it was just a hard case to crack. And it was just addicting to read this book. I really enjoyed it. And I'm glad that they finally found the guy and that he gets the rotten way in prison now. After this, I actually went into like a true crime spiral and started listening to the Morbid podcast. I'm obsessed. I'm like 18 episodes in, and I just started like 3 weeks ago. But I gave this book 5 stars. It's really hard to write like true crime, memoir, stuff like that. But I gave this book 5 stars. It was awesome. And I wish she could have been around to see him get captured. It would have made her feel great. Next on my list was For You and Only You by Caroline Kempnes. And this book was an ARC that I received via NetGalley. It is the 4th installment in the You series featuring Joe Goldberg, which if you watch the show, it's very addicting. But this time Joe is trying to become a writer, and he was invited by a very famous writer to come and do a like work group or a work study, or what do they call it? A workshop. That's what I'm looking for. A workshop, writing workshop up at Harvard. And so he's in there with a couple other classmates. Some have already published books. Some are starting on their first book, yada, yada. And he winds up finding this girl named Wonder. And of course, she's the love of his life, of course, because it's Joe. And so, of course, he becomes obsessed and he begins his murder spree. Now, I will say, he didn't kill as many people as he has in some other books, so kudos to Joe. Not that I'm saying any death is good, but kudos to Joe. He tried. But this book was a lot of fun. I will say it was a little slower than the other ones that I've read. And I didn't feel like, with Beck and the others, I felt the zing that Joe, I guess, feels. I don't know. Because, this book, I will say, these books are addicting. Just the way that it's told, and like sometimes that second person, it really gets you into his head, and he's very convincing to try and make you see things his way. And so it's hard to be objective and be like, oh my gosh, this guy's crazy nutcase. And I said that I feel like Joe Goldberg is a definition of expectation versus reality, except when expectation does not meet reality, he starts murdering people. But I did give this book 4 stars. I mean, it hooked me from beginning to end. I had a lot of fun with it. Even though I did expect a little bit more from it, I was still addicted. It's just, I will read any book in the You series because it's addicting. Oh, I honestly forgot to show some of my books. It's okay though, because I'm doing great. I'm gonna start showing books now. I'll edit all the other books in. I'm struggling. The next book I read was Such Sharp Teeth by Rachel Harrison, and this book was perfection. It took me a hot minute to get into it because I was trying to juggle a couple books at once, but once I started, like really got into it, I was probably like already 60 pages in or so. I finished this book in a day. It was just addicting. This book is about a woman and she moves back to her hometown to help her pregnant sister. And while she's there, that one night she's leaving a bar and something hits her car, or she hits some kind of animal. She gets out to investigate and something attacks her. She survives, but strange things starts happening afterwards, and you see her slowly becoming a werewolf. And this is a story about like rage and adapting, and it was just a beautiful story. Like, I really enjoyed the sister relationship and her trying to rekindle with a possible old flame. It was just a lot of fun. And I highly recommend it. I gave this book 5 stars. It was just a blast from start to finish. And yeah, it's a lot of fun. It has like some feminist views as well. So I really did enjoy this. The next book I read, I actually read this on Christmas Eve because it is a Christmas themed story. Unfortunately, I did not like this book as much as I wanted to. It came in my Nightworms package, which I absolutely love Nightworms. This was my second package with them, and it's so much fun getting 2 horror books and then like a drink and some cute stickers. Like, I think I have it right here. This time I got like a pretty cool Krampus sticker, and I gotta find a place to stick it on, but so that was really cool. But this book is Lucky Girl, How I Became a Horror Writer, a Krampus Story by M. Rickett. And my biggest complaint with this book, I can forgive like all the other things, but my biggest complaint is how this book is like sold. It's sold as like these 4 strangers meet up, or 5 strangers, something like that, meet up in a diner that's shutting down, and then they all go back to somebody's house and weird things start happening. But that's not how the story goes at all. They meet up at the diner, they go to the house, and then like a decade passes, and then they meet back up again, and that's when some weird things happen. But it makes it sound like it's all going to happen that night. And this is also sold as like a Krampus story, but Krampus is only mentioned like in passing as like one of the scary stories that one of the author tells. And then there's a Krampus bell, but nobody ever rings the bell. Krampus does not come out. So that's what really threw me off. Like, this book was more about like a murder in the past, and there's some kind of plot twist, but I mean, you can see the plot twist coming like from a mile away. So I gave this book 2 stars. I wanted to like it more. I feel like this would be an amazing novel if everything wasn't just rushed in 100 pages and we got to see everything flushed out, because this would be an awesome novel. But as a novella, it just didn't work for me, unfortunately. I'm not saying it's a bad book at all. I mean, I really enjoyed some scenes, but I just wanted it to read like the synopsis said it would, and just go from there. So yes, 2 stars, unfortunately, but it has so much potential if it was expanded upon. The next book I read was Devolution by Max Brooks. This is the author of the World War Z book that inspired the movie, even though I've heard that the movie and the book are nothing alike, which is shocking, I know. But this book focuses on a woman and her husband, and they move to this like community that's out in like the woods by mountains and such. It's supposed to be like a very self-sustaining society where they get drones to deliver their groceries. They have like solar power energy, like methane energy. Basically everything's green. But when a volcano erupts by them unexpectedly, they're left stranded and they can't get out because they're kind of like on a mountain a bit, and the roads like are washed away by like lava, stuff like that. So they can't get out. Um, they're trapped and they start trying to ration their food and everything, but something else is fleeing from the volcano, and that something else is Sasquatch. There's like a whole community of Sasquatches, and at first they're just investigating their area, stealing some of their food, but it's almost like war is declared when somebody knocks back to a Sasquatch, and then these Sasquatch get brutal and they start killing everybody in the community, destroying everything, and it gets very violent very fast. I've heard this book is super great on audio, because it has like, it'll be like a journal that she wrote, and then I'll do like an interview with somebody talking about the community or talking about something that is happening in the community. And so it was really cool going back and forth, and also just reading her fear and terror, and it makes it sound, it's like a found footage basically. It makes it sound more authentic because she's writing down what she feels and everything, and it's not being told like a narrative of she did this and that. No, it's what she experienced. So it was really fun. I gave it 4 stars. Next book I read Christmas Day and a couple days after is The Family Game by Catherine Steadman. This book was addicting. It was pitched as like a Ready or Not, but I haven't seen that movie, but it felt different and I liked it. This book is about this author, and she is recently engaged to a very, very wealthy man who comes from a very, very wealthy family. And she meets the family for the first time on Thanksgiving. And the man's father actually gives her a tape. And so she has to finish her next book, so she doesn't get a chance to listen to the tape until roughly, 20 days later or so. And when she finally listens to the tape, she hears there's basically like a game involved. There's like confessions to murder on the tape, and she has to investigate to see if these are actually true. She doesn't know who to trust. The family is very wealthy and they're very weird. Like they like to play like childish games and scary games. Like they have like Krampus night basically, and some dude in special effect like makeup and costume dresses as Krampus and chases children around. And I was fearing for her life at that time because it was scary. But yes, so weird games. And then this book is like a perfect Thanksgiving / Christmas read because it takes place around both. And yeah, it was a bunch of fun. I did not expect to love this book as much as I did. I gave it 5 stars. It was addicting. It was a fast-paced thriller, and I really liked all the plot twists. I did not see it coming initially, so I really loved it. The book is so much fun, so seriously, check it out. And then the very last book that I read, I actually just finished yesterday, so I snuck that book in before the end of the year, and it is The Nightmare Man by J.H. Market. This book is actually coming out on January 10th, so if it sounds like you would be interested in it, you should go check it out. I gave this book 3 stars. It wasn't my favorite. I just don't know if I was in the right place of mind, or if this book just wasn't for me. Like, I started this book a little before Thanksgiving, and I'm finally finishing it. It's not a bad book at all. It's about, it's like alternating point of views. We have an old detective, and then we have a horror book writer. And so weird murders are happening where people are locked up in like cocoons and they're all chopped up, their body parts. So there is some gross things, heads up, in this book. But the body parts are all put in the cocoon, and they're hung up in like barns and other places. It's creepy, and it's a nasty scene to try to detect. I don't know what else I'm supposed to say. Detect. But anyway, so we focus on both of these, and then the horror writer, he actually wrote this book basically. So these murders are being based on his book that isn't released yet. So it's all the NetGalley readers. All of us NetGalley readers are going out and killing people, apparently. But yeah, it focuses between those two, jumps back and forth, and we see that everybody has secrets. It took some weird turns. There are some supernatural elements to this book, so it's like a crime thriller mixed with supernatural elements. So nightmares can come to life in this book and be trapped in books and all sorts of things. So it really reminded me of a recent young adult read I read, which was Dreams Lie Beneath. But it obviously, Dreams Lie Beneath was not this gruesome or anything. That was more like a young adult fantasy. This is more horror, obviously. So, but yes, I still enjoyed it, but I don't know, it dragged a little bit for me. And I just kept getting confused. There were a lot of character names in the book. And so if you didn't pay attention for like one page, you were kind of thrown for a loop. But I did enjoy like the spooky elements to it. It was just, I don't know. There was just something missing for me, and it's hard to put my tongue on it or finger on it. Why am I putting my tongue on it? Nope. My finger on it. But I'm going to be writing a review for this soon, so I can post this in NetGalley, my Instagram, and hopefully I'll be able to think more coherent thoughts when I do that. Yeah. Anyway, this has been my December wrap up. I hope you found some more books that you will enjoy, and I hope you had a great new year. Don't forget, if you enjoyed this video, feel free to like and subscribe, and until next time.